In this video, I really want to talk about some of the differences that I have found that wealthy people explain to their kids, but the middle class do not.
Dangerous not in the way of harmful to others, but being the type of person that can't be harmed, person that can't be messed with.
RonMalhotra International is our commercial entity through which we provide advisory, training and mentoring services to individuals and businesses who want to grow. Maybe they want to improve their mindset, they might want to improve their performance, leadership capabilities. Sometimes they want to improve their communication capabilities, their strategic abilities, their commercial abilities, or their financial abilities. Now, one of the things that I have been talking about in the last few videos is that our message to the world is to become powerful. Recently, we added the word dangerous to it. Basically, we explained to people that the dangerous word is not about being harmful, but being the type of person who can't be messed with. Someone who is so sovereign, so strong in all areas of their life, and so they're resourceful, and that gives them the ability to be able to navigate a lot of complexity in life. And it also gives them independence, so they're not controlled by governments, or they're not controlled by employers, or they're not controlled by society. So that's really what becoming powerful and becoming dangerous is all about. In this video, I really want to talk about some of the differences that I have found that wealthy people explain to their kids, but the middle class do not. This is important learning because you have to start to understand that if you want to become financially sovereign and you want your children to become financially sovereign, these are some very subtle differences between concepts that seem very similar, but they're not. So I want you to pay attention as I talk about the difference, that the difference is that the wealthy people explain to their children in regards to some financial concepts that the middle class do not, simply because they don't understand them. The first difference is the difference between money and wealth. A lot of people assume that money and wealth are the same things. Well, they're not. Money is currency. Wealth is the ability to fund your chosen lifestyle without needing to work. So the fact is that money ends up losing its value over a period of time because of inflation. As we know that most governments will continue to produce more money, print more money, because governments, unlike businesses, don't really have the level of accountability that businesses have, so they can continue to print money. As they print more money and there is an increased supply of money in an economy, the value of existing money drops. So if you have money but you don't have wealth, as inflation increases, you're actually becoming poorer. But if you have wealth, you're actually becoming wealthier. Wealth simply means that you have assets that produce income. So what happens is when CPI goes up, which is a measure of inflation, also called consumer price index, API also goes up in most cases, which is the asset price index. So when governments produce more money and it causes more inflation, people who have money actually become poorer, but people who have wealth become richer. So many people don't understand this. So inflation always hurts the poor people and middle class disproportionately more than it affects the wealthy people, because the wealthy people already have wealth and they have assets. When inflation happens, asset price goes up, asset income goes up, and so the wealthier become wealthier. That's one of the first differences that every person needs to explain to their children if they want their children to become more financially successful and sovereign than parents themselves. The second thing that a lot of wealthy people explain to their children that middle class do not is the difference between assets and liabilities. Assets are things that grow in value, and liabilities are things that diminish in value. And so a lot of times what happens is, because poor and middle class have not really had access to a lot of comforts and luxuries, what they do is they take the first portion of the income that they make and they spend it on things that are going to give them comfort and luxury, and not understanding that a lot of the times what they're buying is going to depreciate in value. Whereas wealthy people understand the fundamental difference between assets and liabilities, so they always encourage their kids to take the first portion of their income and invest it in something that's going to appreciate in value. As your assets appreciate in value, you are becoming wealthier. If you continue to buy liabilities assuming that they're assets, then you're actually becoming poorer. It may make you look wealthy, but eventually what happens is your net worth is decreasing because you have taken the first portion of your income and put it into something that depreciates in value instead of appreciating in value. The third difference that the wealthy people explain to their children, which the middle class do not, is the difference between good debt and bad debt. Not all debt is bad. When you borrow money, what determines whether the borrowing is a smart idea or not is the purpose of that borrowing. Wealthy people understand that borrowings and taking on debt can be a fantastic way to grow your wealth and boost your wealth. So they ensure that they teach their children the use of debt in a positive way. They teach their children that if you borrow money to invest in things that are appreciating in value, have the potential to provide you with an income in the future, and have tax benefits attached to it, then that's a sensible way to use debt. As long as the growth that your assets are providing, or the income that your assets are providing, is greater than the interest that you're paying on the debt, you're actually moving forward. But what happens generally with middle class and poor people is they either use debt to buy things that are falling in value, or a lot of the times they just avoid debt because they think any type of borrowing is bad. Because wealthy people understand that some debt can be good, they encourage their kids and they show them how to use debt to boost their wealth. The fourth difference that the wealthy people explain to their kids that the middle class do not, is the difference between lifestyle assets and investment assets. The fact is that some things that you buy can be an asset. They can go up in value, but they don't necessarily provide you with an income. That's the lifestyle asset. An example is the home that you live in. You may buy a nice luxury car. That's an asset. It's got value. But none of those things actually put money in your pocket. And sure, you've got to have some lifestyle assets, but you'll generally find that middle class end up, even when they have a lot of money, they end up putting more of their money in lifestyle assets, but they don't actually put money in investment assets. Investment assets are assets that not just grow in value, but also provide you with an income in the future that can potentially replace your employment income or your active income. Wealthy people understand this, and they make sure that their kids understand this fine distinction. The fifth thing that the wealthy people understand, and they teach their kids, but the middle class do not, is the difference between risk and volatility. A lot of people think that they're the same things. You'll see that a lot of people, when they avoid risk, they'll say, I don't want to invest in the property market, I don't want to invest in the stock market, I don't want to invest in any financial market instrument because it's risky. That's because they don't understand the difference between risk and volatility. Risk is capital loss. Volatility is simply a temporary fluctuation in the value of your assets. Wealthy people understand that their assets can go up and down. No asset goes up in a straight line. And so they teach their kids that just because an asset is volatile does not mean that it's risky. The risk mostly comes from the behavior of the investor. The fact is that if my assets fall in value, but I don't sell, I don't panic, I don't react, assuming that I bought a good asset to start with, then at some point the asset is going to go back up in value again. But what happens is a lot of people don't understand the difference between risk and volatility. So when they see volatility, which is the temporary ups and downs in the value of their investment, they panic and they sell at the worst time, generally when the markets are down. And by doing so, they end up crystallizing their loss, meaning that the risk was not inherent in the investment. It's the investor's actions that introduce the risk to the equation. The sixth difference that wealthy people explain to their children that the middle class do not is the difference between income and net worth. Most people don't understand that income is not the best determinant of wealth. It is actually net worth. It is entirely plausible. In fact, if you read the book The Millionaire Next Door, you'll find that the majority of self-made millionaires and multimillionaires were on average to above average incomes. But the reason they became millionaires is because of their investing and risk management activities, meaning that despite the fact that they had average or slightly above average incomes, their net worth was disproportionately higher than people who had high incomes. Again, because the middle class do not understand the difference between income and net worth, they chase income alone. Very rarely do they think about increasing their net worth. But the wealthy people understand, and this is probably one of the reasons why the wealthy people encourage their kids to get into businesses, is because in business, you don't have to have a high income. The way you structure your business, the way you take profit, and the way you distribute and allocate that profit to increasing your net worth is actually smarter than just taking high income. Because the wealthy people understand the difference between income and net worth, they put emphasis on increasing net worth rather than just increasing income alone. The seventh difference that wealthy people explain to their kids that the middle class do not is the difference between being a manager and being a leader. You see, being a leader is about setting out a vision. It's about taking risk. It's about bringing resources together for the accomplishment of a common vision. Leadership is not really about management alone. And what happens is middle class people who want their kids to become leaders or get into business, they typically encourage them to do a business degree. Most business degrees don't actually teach you how to be a leader, because leadership is more about attitude, vision, and the ability to embrace risk. These people are actually learning management. What ends up happening is because they're learning management, they end up being managers in businesses that are actually owned and run by leaders. I think management is definitely very important, but the reality is a manager is never going to make as much money as a leader can. And wealthy people understand this. They teach their kids and they encourage their kids to be leaders first, even if they're going to be managers, but be leaders first and then be a manager. Whereas the middle class, even when they have business orientation, they will teach their kids to be managers first and they don't actually think about true leadership. The eighth difference that wealthy people teach their kids that the middle class do not is the difference between investing and trading. Certainly, trading can be a fantastic way to supplement your income, but trading is not the way to increase your net worth or to increase your wealth. Because wealthy people already understand that net worth is the greatest measure of financial health, they always encourage their kids to invest rather than trade. Investing is really about looking at the underlying fundamentals of an asset, picking something that's high quality, regardless of price price fluctuations, buying it, holding it, and investors understand that the money is not really made in buying or selling, but it's made in the holding. Traders, on the other hand, try to make money by buying and selling, and traders are generally not concerned with adding value to the economy. They're not really concerned with adding value in the marketplace. They're simply about making a quick profit based on predictions, short-term predictions generally. I'm not saying that trading is bad. I think trading should be done by anybody that wants to supplement their income. But the thing is, a lot of people confuse trading for investing. Especially, you'll see that a lot of people in the middle class will end up adopting trading as their main wealth creation activity, not understanding that trading should just be a supplement to your income, or it should just be a supplementary activity to increase your wealth, not the main activity. But wealthy people get this. They teach their kids to be owners of assets, not necessarily in their personal name, but still be owners and controllers of assets rather than just flipping, buying and selling frequently to make a quick profit. These are the 8 fundamental differences that I have observed in how the wealthy condition their kids to become wealthy and how the middle class must do not. Now, I know that some of what I have said may be triggering to some people. Some people are going to argue. Of course, I will always get that. But this is not really about, me being right or you being wrong. It's just about giving you some additional insights on how you can think from a different vantage point if you want your kids to actually inherit the mindset of an investor and a wealth creator. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure that you subscribe because I continue to share insights. It's not necessary that you agree with everything that I say, but the question that you need to ask yourself is, does Ron make me think differently? Does he give me another perspective on things? And if you like that, if you like occasionally being challenged, you like looking at things from a different angle, then make sure you subscribe because I'm going to continue to provide insights into any area that's going to make you more powerful and more dangerous. Thanks for watching.